Let me show you how I use cardstock to create this cute chair. First we need to create a pattern. I'm starting with the chair back first. Mine will be 3 inches high and 1.5 inches wide. We don't need the depth yet. I'm marking the center line and the seat height. Your measurements might even be different from mine if you don't work in 1/16 scale. I am drawing the leg shape first, staying within the box. I'm terrible at drawing, so I look at pictures and start drawing and erasing until I have the shape I want. You may even have a different leg shape in mind. Have fun and experiment. This is how I want my chair leg to look. You can see I didn't go past the seat height. I'm drawing a decorative area between the 2 legs. You can use straight lines instead if that's easier. I make sure not to go past the center line. This line is the bottom of the seat back cushion. I need to connect the top of the chair to the bottom. Remember, you can always use straight lines if that helps. I have to do a lot of erasing sometimes till I get it figured out the way it looks best for me. Here's how it's looking so far. I'm making sure to stay within the box while I draw the back cushion of the chair. Here is half of my chair back. I cut it away from the paper and fold down the center line. And while it's folded, I cut it out. Make sure to take your time. Also, hold it tight so it doesn't slip anywhere, because then the sides of your chair wouldn't match up. Please don't get discouraged if the first try doesn't turn out perfectly. It may take lots of practice to get the hang of it. And this is how my chair back turned out. This piece will help you create all of the other pattern pieces. For the back cushion, you need to fold your chair in half again. Line up the center on one of the graph paper lines with the fold line. I'm just tracing the cushion area. I had to freehand the side area where I was unable to trace. I want the chair's front legs to be slightly wider than the legs of the back of the chair. So I'm drawing a center line on the graph paper and move the chair front center over a half a square. Keep the top edge of the chair seat height straight with the line on the graph paper. Make sure it doesn't slip while you're tracing the lower half of the back pattern piece. Otherwise, the chair seat height won't be the same as the front and back. Now fold each one on the half line and cut out just like we did for the chair back. Be sure though to cut away the pencil line, so cut inside the pencil line so the pattern won't grow in size. Fold the cushion piece in half again and make little dots 1/8 of an inch in all the way around except on the folded edge. It will look something like this. Cut out on the line to create an overlay for the chair back. Here's how mine turned out. I want to thicken my back chair legs, so I'm creating an overlay to help with that. Line up the straight edge of the seat height with a line on the graph paper. Trace from the seat height and around the leg. Fold and cut away the pencil line just like the previous pieces. After you've cut it out, be sure to lay it over the back piece to make sure that everything matches up. If they don't, you may need to make some adjustments to the leg overlay. Measure the width of the back piece here and the width of the chair front legs. That will help you draw out the seat on the graph paper. So I made my seat 1 1/16 of an inch deep. I drew a center line on the graph paper and added half my chair back width and half the front leg width. I hope that made sense. It was really hard to explain. I took my chair front leg, folded it in half to check the measurement of my seat to see if it lined up. I lined my ruler up with the dots on the sides and drew a line. I folded and cut out the seat on the pencil line. Instead of using graph paper patterns, I like to make mine more sturdy with cardstock. So I put a dab of glue stick to hold the pattern pieces while I trace them. I make sure to cut on the inside of the pencil line so again the pieces don't get bigger. Now that all of the pattern pieces are made, I trace them again onto cardstock and cut on the inside of the pencil line. These pieces will be the first pieces of our chair. Now glue each one down to cardstock. I make sure to use a new blade and slowly make several passes to cut them out. Doing it this way helps the edges to stay a lot more even. Of course, please be careful with your cutters, and if you have some good scissors that you can get up close, definitely cut that way instead. For the chair back, I did 4 layers of cardstock or a 1/16 of an inch thick chipboard. The front legs are 8 layers of cardstock or 2 chipboard. Each one of the overlays are 2 layers thick. Before I start sanding, I glue a back overlay to the front and the back, each one 2 layers thick. I also glue the chair back cushion overlay to the front and back, and they're each 2 layers thick. I glue the chair seat overlay to the seat piece. At first I use an electric nail sander on the sides to speed things up, but it's really not necessary. A nail file works just fine. I usually use both, but before I had the electric one, the nail file worked just fine. Of course, sanding is optional, but I wanted to show how the legs looked sanded and not sanded. To create the side piece pattern, I lay the front legs flat and hold the seat up next to it and trace a line on the back of the seat. Then I place the seat lip onto the back and trace. I measure the distance between the 2 lines, and that's the width of the side piece. The height of my side piece is 1/4 of an inch. Since I did so much sanding and it is cardstock, I painted my pieces with wood glue, but Mod Podge would work also. I like the way it smooths the edges out. I want to create a carved wood design, so I roughly cut out some small circles from paper. While they are on the tweezers, I pinch and scrunch them so they aren't flat. And then I glue them down into a design shape like leaves or a flower. I'm not gluing them completely flat on purpose to create dimension. Here is how mine turned out. And then I dab some wood glue on them. While they are still wet, I use my tweezers to shape them even more. Once painted, they will hopefully look like carved wood. Here I am base coating a tan color. After that dries, I brush them in one direction with watered down brown paint to kind of give them a wood look. I'm gluing the side pieces onto the chair even with the back leg overlay close to the outer edge. The side piece I made 4 layers thick. When that's dry, I glue on the front leg piece. This is how my chair is looking up to this point. I forgot to mention, but I saved the cutouts from the overlays to make the cushioned area. This piece will glue onto the back of the chair so it's not cushioned. I'm using Elmer's Craft Bond Extra Strength glue stick to glue the fabric down. Now I'm gluing it onto the back of the chair. For the back cushion on the front and on the chair seat, I glued just like the back, but I used a little bit of scrap batting. If you don't have batting, I'm sure a few layers of felt or maybe even paper towels would work. Go ahead and glue into place before gluing on the seat. To create the cording I have glued around the cushions, I used crochet thread that I stiffened with glue and painted to match the fabric. Next time, though, I will skip the glue and just paint them. That way they will be flexible and easier to apply. I was careful not to get glue onto the fabric. It was easier to glue the cording before the chair seat was on. Now that the cording is on, I am gluing the chair seat in place. I used some clips to hold it down while it dried. Here is the chair complete. I really love how the carved wood design turned out. I had some arms from an old project that I cut down and glued on. I also experimented and left off the overlays and did a full cushion instead. I made the full cushion just like the smaller ones. I hope that you will give it a try to create some chairs of your own. Thank you so much for watching.